This is Hannibal here from the HannibalTV.com with former TNA Impact announcer slash musician slash columnist, dating advice, and she has an alias, Jane Moore, apparently.
Oh God, don't ask me about that. Please don't ask me about Jane Moore.
Well, I just appeared on your show.
You asshole.
How do people watch your show that I just appeared on if they want to see it?
Please do. It's on the Realm Network, which is Vince Russo's brand. And, you can just type in, it'll be episode 88, Hannibal. Just type in Goldy with a Y, Goldy apostrophe S, Goldy's Closet, episode 88. It'll be out in like 3 weeks. Hannibal did an amazing job. It's so cool to be able to interview somebody who interviews. And, sometimes you just get a different take on it with a different interviewer or somebody just creating a conversation. Really, really great stuff in there. I can't wait to highlight it. Please follow at Goldy, Goldy, Locks Rocks on Instagram and Twitter so that you can find out, sound the alarm and ring the bell when Hannibal is going to be out. He did a great, great job. And I think it's a little bit different than maybe what people would ask you because I am a chick.
Yeah, you did ask a couple of questions that were a bit surprising. So
that you wouldn't answer, you dick.
I'd rather be in trouble with you than other people.
Oh, okay, good. Fair enough. That's a great answer.
Now, I've been reading recently, you somehow got a column in, is it the LA Times or?
LA Tribune. Yeah, Los Angeles Tribune. So cool. Did I lose you? Yeah. You're back. You back?
Yeah, I'm back. What can you tell us about this column you have in LA?
Yeah, and I appreciate you asking. It's so funny. Like some people were really nice, like a lot of the patrons and supporters that were like, wow, congratulations, pat on the back. And then, other people or family members are like, wow, how did you get that? It's always so nice when people have your back like that. And, I do a lot of work on podcasting, Hannibal. And I kind of just fly by the seat of my pants. I like to have real conversations like you do and get right into it. And somebody at the Los Angeles Tribune saw that and just said, would you like to have a column? We're interested in like a lifestyle advice, inspirational stuff. So some people get my column and other people just shred it to pieces. I don't really care because I'm having a blast. And it's really fun to cross promote some of the podcasts with the column. And like I said, when I invited you back on my show, Goldy's Closet, to be in Goldy's Corner later on, coming up in July, we have an important day that I think that would be really great to have you on my podcast, but also double that with a great educational, informative article in the Los Angeles Tribune talking about you, your brand, your interviewing, your promotions, and your passion for educating people on hepatitis C.
Well, that's pretty cool that you have a column in LA. That's one of my favorite cities in the US. So is just going to be an ongoing column then? You're saying next July. So this isn't just a one-time deal or
no, knock on wood. I'm there till they kick me out and I'm having a blast. And we've been on their leadership summits. They had me do interviewing, which again, I have no idea what in the hell was going on. I felt right at home, just like I was at Impact Wrestling. For all the people that like to make comments about that, I had no idea half the time when it was like, go out there and interview somebody. And it's Chris Rock standing in the ring. And I had half the time, sometimes, but most of the time not. I'd say 50-50. I had to just guess on what I was going to be talking about or take a note out of Jeremy Borash's book and just wing it. But they had me on one of their leadership summits with like amazing people and leaders from all over the world. And it was like, Goldy, interview this person. And I got the script. I got the details, Hannibal, like the night before, like 2 a.m. of that day, trying to figure things out or backstage because we did it via StreamYard. They're like, introduce these people. Well, there's 6 people, 6 names. I don't know who they are and I don't know what they look like. But I just said backstage in the chat room, hey, guys, I don't know who you are. I just was given your names. Could you please identify yourself? So they would all identify themselves, all 6 of the people, as I'm a middle-aged, bald, Asian or Indian man. So then when it pops up, I'm like, oh, that's great. We've got 6 guys that all match the same description. So just wing it like we did in wrestling and have everybody introduce themselves. That turned into a live performance from our band, Goldilocks Band. And it just goes hand in hand with the column. So I'm just your friendly neighborhood goofy wrestling enthusiastic front rocker doing a column about lifestyles. It's pretty fun.
There's a fan on here, Angel, that wants to know if you got along with Alex Shelley during your time in
TNA. Angel, for such a beautiful name. You know better than that. No, I didn't get along with them. I thought I was getting along with them, but like many women out there, Angel, some of us are delusional. You know the kind of women that I'm talking about. Maybe that's a friend of yours where you think everything is going great, but your guy's really cheating on you behind your back or talking shit. No, I thought I got along with Alex just fine, but I guess afterwards he hated my guts. So be it. It's all good. Water under the bridge.
I don't know anything about him other than his name. I don't even know if he wrestles anymore, to be honest. Josh wants to know if you ever recorded a wrestling theme.
Yes, Josh, thanks for asking. That's so sweet. There are so many out there that are listed, and there's a lot that they'll say that I sang, but I actually sang part of it. So some of the notes, if they're a little funky, they're not me. I don't know who they are. I did write many of them, and a lot of those get cut up and they're circulating and put into different entrance music now, even as we speak. So a lot of them, Josh, and I really appreciate you asking. Some of the favorites were Dixie Carter, Man and Me. I did that. Didn't write it, just sang it. Most of Trinity, Stephanie Finocchio's entrance music, ring walks, I wrote them and sang them. Dodging Bullets and Supergirl, and I did some for just tons of different guys. It was a blast. I love doing it. We put out new songs all the time on our band's YouTube. Check it out. YouTube.com/Goldy, Goldy, Locks Rocks. Goldilocks Band Rocks. Go check us out. Thanks.
Angel has another question. Do you watch AEW? And Angel is a man, by the way. Apparently.
Oh, my bad, Angel. Angel, I apologize. There I go. Because Angel was a cover girl. So, of course, I'm going to that. I apologize, Angel. I do watch a little bit of AEW. It's AEW, right? And there's AWA, which I've been getting confused.
You should know all about AWA being from Minnesota because it was based there and it was supposedly a huge part of Minneapolis.
Huge. We'll talk about that in a second. So AEW, I do watch some of it, and I was one of the stars that used to be with them. I don't know if she is or not right now. What's going with the COVID, but Mayra Diaz Gomez, she was in our video. So of course I started watching it a little bit more, and I'm getting confused with all the promotions that are out there because I still do talk to people like some of the production and Jerry Lynn. And Jerry Lynn's working with them, right, Devin?
From my understanding, he's an agent. Yeah.
Yeah. So just because of some of the friends that I still have in the business, I'm constantly poking my nose and stuff. And I plant that seed. I would so love to go back to a promotion that made sense and show up as somebody just completely evil. And Hannibal, on one of your interviews, you were like, cut a promo, blah, blah, blah. And that turned into one of the characters, a mix between what I played on TNA and then one of my cameo characters now, who's constantly hurting people in her basement. And that's all inspired by your interview. And I really appreciate that.
You put a great effort into your cameo, by the way. I don't even want to do one because it seems like way too much work, but what makes you put so much effort into them? Obviously you just love your fans, I guess.
I seriously do not know any other way than to go balls to the wall on everything. I get TV shows because of that, Hannibal, because it'll just send in some, quick thing. I can't. I started modeling and doing commercials and movies when I was 3, and you can't put some child into that at such an impressionable age and not have their DNA just be production. And look who's talking. I mean, your promos, I love what you've got going on with the background. You've got stuff in the forefront. You've got it lit really well. You're breaking real bottles on your head. You know what I'm talking about. I love production because I just like to do the best job that I can. And I don't think things for people that are watching should be about money or I don't have this or I don't have these resources. You create your own resources, no matter what it, don't do falling off the house with the backyard wrestling gimmick. Don't do that. But as far as everything else, there is so much as a country in the US, in the UK, unless you're a bushman of freaking Kalahari, you've got resources, use them. I love production. The crazier, the better. And some of those cameos were like they take me hours, but it's just an opportunity to play a villain or a heel, and I love it.
Well, you don't seem like too much of a villain in real life, so I guess you're a good actress.
Sweet.
You already talked about Extreme Cheapskate, so I'm not going to, even though Lou wants to get into that, watch our last episode, Lou.
Lou, thank you. Lou, there's some news coming up, and I'd like to come on Hannibal's show and talk about it when I'm allowed to, Lou. So
that's exactly what I was going to ask you, because then you did the very first interview with you, you talked about that in detail. Then last time you said you might be involved in something else to do.
Yeah. I'm signing stuff right now. So I've got my non-disclosure NDA. So I can't wait to be able to talk about it. I'm like ready to blow up, ready to burst. It's going to be so sick and so twisted and so good.
Now, the Tiger Man says missionary rules. Is that an inside joke or something?
Missionary rules.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Tiger Man, tell me what you mean. Whatever you're allowed to say. Like, let me see if I can figure out what you're pick up.
Because you give sex advice and stuff. I wasn't sure if favorite position or something.
I mean, we haven't gotten into that, but Tiger Man, I will say it, please, because Hannibal plugged his stuff, the whole last thing. Please, would you go over to our Patreon, Mr. Tiger Man? It's patreon.com/Goldy with a Y, Goldilocks. Dude, sign up for that. It's $3 for just the minimum. And then you can see what's going on in there. We do have a segment called Tub Talk, and that's the $15 a month gimmick. So check that out. But Tub Talk is exactly like, I'm going to take what you just said, and I'm going to do a whole show in your honor, Tiger Man, about sexual positions. So even in the promo for Tub Talk, if you look on my Instagram, you'll see me holding up a book in the tub as part of like the montage, the sizzle reel, the promo of 69 positions. It's a book that I bought. So, anything that can help add value to somebody's life, like spice up a partnership or a marriage for years, whatever it is, whether it's toys, gimmicks, gadgets, sexual positions, I am all about it, because at the end of the day, I know that sex and love and intimacy and physical contact are huge for so many people and human beings, even if it's not sexual, intimacy is. And I always want to just create great, healthy conversations for people, whether it be on Goldy's Closet, in the column in the Los Angeles Tribune with Goldy's Corner, or if it's on Patreon. Like, I am just all about that. So I really appreciate you saying that, because that's going to be next week's Tub Talk. You better tune in.
Now, in the past, you said you sometimes just want a big hard dick, right? You sometimes just want that. What is the ideal size for you?
I used to think that I had an ideal size of a man's penis. Let's keep it, because I know you're going to use this as a freaking clip, you asshole. God, you're the worst. You won't answer my stuff, but I'm like, oh, here I am. I don't think that I used to think there was an ideal size. I did date a couple of guys that were a lot larger, and I thought for internal penetration to hit the G-spot, I thought that you had to be of a certain size to get that. And I have literally learned, or maybe a friend has learned since then, that it's not necessarily the length or the size. Let's use some physical graphics of the penis that can get a woman off. I think it is, for me personally, I can speak, I think it's more of the willingness of the partner, which could be a woman, but it's not. For me, it's a guy. The willingness of that person to communicate without being embarrassed. Like, I come with an instruction manual. I will tell you how I can orgasm, and whether or not you want to hear that or not, that's your prerogative. But at the end of the day, I would like to get off. So you might want to listen or ask a woman, and ask it in a way that is fun and playful, and not out of a place of fear or I am inadequate. Or, do you know what I'm saying? Like, you can talk to a chick or a partner in a way that it's fun and it's almost like foreplay, and you're asking questions. And I think communication is the number one thing in getting off and in orgasming rather than the size of your unit. And there are other things that you can do, because there are some men that I know, even that I've dated, that there's something genetically wrong down there, or they're just not very big. There are plenty of things that you can do if you are a man, you're a heterosexual man, or even a homosexual man, to stimulate and make your partner truly happy.
Now, when Marty, Janetti, and I were talking during our very well-viewed interview a few weeks ago, we had both heard like the average size for a guy was about 6.5. Would that be about right, or are we off there in your experience?
No, that's clinically, it basically says that. You can Google that anywhere. It's about 6 inches is about normal. And again, if you are not 6 inches, don't worry about it. There are plenty other things that you can do. And the thing is a lot of guys, you see these, again, a friend of mine has seen some porn in her life, and you see some of these dicks, and these guys are so proud of them. And I'm telling you, honey, if you're going to penetrate me and that's going to come out my throat from that way up, like that's not fun for me. Like you can literally obliterate somebody's uterus with some of these tools. So, don't feel like you're falling short if you're under 6 inches, and don't feel like you need to be 12 inches, because honestly, like that hurts. Like basically, if you have a super huge dick, you can just give yourself a round of applause right now, because what that equals for me is a UTI, and that's a urinary tract infection. Like we don't talk about that. We just see when you have a big dick and you see in your ladies or your guys, I don't know, I guess you don't get urinary from a homosexual. Maybe you get some other things, but when you see like a big jug of cranberry juice in the refrigerator, thank you for the gift that keeps on giving, and that's a UTI. Cranberry juice.
Yeah, I got one of those once from having sex in the ocean. The salt water. It's not good for your.
I worry about things that you guys get in that hole. I tell you, I do. I wouldn't want to be a guy.
Well, yeah, that was back in around 2005, so I'm long recovered from that. Ruben wants to know if you're watching Bound for Glory this Saturday. Oh my God. I'm certainly not.
Poor Ruben. I'm not Ruben, but a lot of people that I asked on Twitter today what they're doing this weekend, it appears if you are watching it, that you are in good company, because a lot of people are really looking forward to it. And honestly, bro, I love that somebody's got something to look forward to. For me, for Hannibal, for a lot of people on Russo's brand, it is every day creating content. And I don't get a chance to watch a lot of the things that I would like to, because I'm too busy like trying to keep up with the content that I've promised people, for either Russo's brand or our Patreon or just our own YouTube channel. So I can't wait to see what happens. And I hope you really enjoy yourself. Great question.
Now, I'm not going to try to pronounce this guy's name, but he says a good line, if you're a smaller gentleman, it's small, but it's cute.
That is a really great line. And like I said, the more that I've dated some guys that are average or even below average, it's again going back to communication and how hard they are, no pun intended, how hard they want to try to do what I need. And there's, for people that are out there that don't date a lot of women, I don't know if you know this or not, but like there's different ways that we can orgasm. There's clitoral stimulation. That's one type of orgasm. And then there's inside, the uterus and up through the vagina at the top, there is what's called a G-spot. Okay. And a G-spot is something that needs to be hit, but not pounded. Not pounded. Do you hear that, guys? If you're watching this, don't necessarily pound it, because if you pounded your arm right now or your leg, what would happen? You probably would be black and blue. So as much porn as we see with somebody just getting rammed and pounded, that might not be what your lady friend is looking for. Communicate with her. Maybe she does. Maybe she's had an interesting childhood and enjoys. I don't know. Won't get into that. Just keep in mind that there are 2 different ways that you can, and maybe even 3. I guess there's anal. Not my story, not my cup of tea, but I guess there's more than one way to skin a cat. No pun intended.
Yeah, we won't go there. So a few people on here have asked about your Instagram. I put it up on the screen, but
thanks, man. Yeah, it's Goldilocks Rocks, GOLDYLOCKS. ROCKS, and it's so much different content. You know, I'm a photographer to the stars. I shoot celebrities, artists, and bands, thefactoryphotography.com. That's a fun gimmick that I have. That's my side hustle. And I tour in a band when we're touring. I still do things with pro wrestling, got a great column in the Los Angeles Tribune, and got some great television that I can't wait to come back on the show and talk about. Like, I think you'll all be really entertained. And at the end of the day, we want you entertained. And that's the content that I try to provide for you, just inspirational, motivational, and educational.
Now, this is an unusual question considering the topics that we've just been talking about. Jeebus says, how do you feel about Chris Benoit?
How do I feel about Chris Benoit as like dating him, or?
I guess about him killing his wife and kids. I don't know. Some people will stand up for him no matter what, because he was a good wrestler. But what I always think about is like that poor child that he killed. What trauma that kid was going through that day.
So what's the person's name?
G-Boot. G-Boot. Or G-Bus.
G-Bus, thank you for bringing up Chris Benoit. That was the first article that we actually had our video all to you, which stars a lot of great, wrestlers that and rock and roll rap stars. Everybody's in it. And we premiered that in the Los Angeles Tribune, and we premiered it on Chris Benoit's birthday. And that was very intentional and for a reason, because we didn't want to highlight his death or the murders and all of this, but we wanted to try to go back to a time of birth. And, his son is following in his footsteps, and I'm sure he hears so much negative stuff, and that's not fair to the people that are alive. I wasn't there. I don't know what was happening. All I can say is it's an immense tragedy, and that I like to look back at history or events and think, I can't prevent what happened, but what can I prevent in the future? So, it all boils down to mental health and what was Chris Benoit going through and what was going on in his mind before he took the lives of his family members and himself. Like, I look at what Hannibal said as that child that was killed as an incredible tragedy, but then you have to look at like what is going through somebody's mind right now. Like, was he completely off? What happened that day? We weren't there. Again, just pay attention to the people that are around you and your friends, or those people, those postal workers that you just kind of know, like that dude's or chick could go off and like do some terrible things. And in the back of my mind, and last night I had a really weak moment. I was an asshole last night, and I left because I'm like, I'm going to go off on somebody and they don't deserve it. Like, people that you see that look a little off, like, when is the last time that you offered them a kind word or a compliment? Like, a compliment goes a long way, because I don't think a lot of people we're on our phones all the time anywhere. We're not even looking people in the eye or having conversations with people in line. Starbucks, if you go in, or fast food place or whatever, you're just standing there on your phone. Like, when's the last time you really looked at somebody and like gave them a compliment and empowered them or made them feel good? And I just wonder, I wish I could go back in time and know what Chris Benoit was really going through. None of us ever will know.
There was at least one police report of prior abuse prior to that weekend. But on a nicer note, OC Guy says, since you've known Vince Russo for years, how is he as a person outside of the wrestling business? What is his best quality as a man, in your opinion?
Wow, that's a great question. I really appreciate that. You really thought of that one. And all these questions have been great. Thank you so much for interacting with us. It makes it a joy to do this. The person that Dr. Maya Angelou, I don't know if you know who she was. I actually had the honor of photographing her before she passed away. Dr. Maya Angelou has a quote that you probably have heard, but you don't know where it came from. So it's from her. And it goes something like this: when somebody shows you who they are the first time, believe them. So on one note, Vince Russo and I got off to an interesting start, because he wanted me to do some stuff that was a little too edgy for my taste. But I, like I said, with sex, communicated with him, I don't want to do that. This is why. Find something else for me to do. And then he came around with something less edgy, but still out of my comfort zone. And we hit it off because I stood my ground with Vince and said, this is what I'm willing to do. Excuse me. This is what I'm willing to do. This is what I'm comfortable doing. Let me know if you can still hear me, Hannibal, because I bumped my mic. And since that moment, we became friends and got along. Now, going back to that, when somebody shows you who they are the first time, believe them. My cat died in the middle of a pay-per-view because I was too busy running around to talk to the person boarding my Persian cat, my love of my life, and it died. And I felt responsible because if I would have called back, I could have had her authorize the hospital visit, and I didn't. And I was hysterical. And I'll never forget sitting down in a chair and having Vince Russo kneel down next to me with some other workers and wrestlers and just patting me on the back, stroking my head, consoling me. You know, Vince's way of fixing it was, we'll go to Hooters, we'll get some chicken wings. That's what he wanted to do. And a very caring side of Vince Russo. And when you hear all of the bullshit and all of the turmoil in the midst of all of this stuff, I've seen so many shoot interviews. Vince did a lot of the things that he did. And even with Cornette, Hannibal, him throwing shade on him, making fun of him as a family man and being faithful to his wife or yada, bada, bada, bing, whatever. Vince always did everything because of his family. And then, not recently, but a while ago, became born again and does a lot of things, even though it's rough around the edges, even though it's a little cynical and sometimes he's mad and he's hating, he still does try to do a lot for God and point out God and does his Sunday gimmicks with a really cool show, This Is Life. Vince is pretty transparent. Like what you see is what you get. And Vince is the reason that I was brought into the brand. Vince is the reason that I had a bucket full of chicken necks. Vince is indirectly the reason that I got fired from TNA because of jealousy, because Vince put me over and gave me so much camera time because he believed in my ability to speak on the mic, my ability to do, different promos and different bits and whatnot. And, Vince is the reason indirectly that I have the Los Angeles Tribune column because of Goldy's Closet. So he gave me my own show. He's the reason we have a Patreon. He's like, you got to do something during the pandemic. You give advice and whatnot, help guys get, chicks and get laid. And, he was great. So, it hurts me a little bit to hear people throwing shade on him. But then again, Vince makes his own bed. He's a grown adult. He knows what he's doing. He knows what his brand is. And a lot of it is fueled by controversy and getting mad at wrestling. And so be it. I sit back, I enjoy the show, and then I go create my own content. But he's been a dear friend, and I will not stand by and let somebody talk shit about him. They might be right about a point, but not about him being as a person. He's a really good man. He's been absolutely incredible to me.
And he has been very professional to deal with the 3 or 4 times I've dealt with him, maybe actually 5 now. So yeah, a lot of it comes from jealousy too, because he was very successful. He had the highest TNA rating, the highest WWE Raw rating, which is something Jim Cornette certainly can't say for himself. But when I was on your show earlier today, we were talking about the haters and the people that insult us and threaten us. And it's funny you mentioned Vince is religious, because a lot of these religious people hate me and are very judgmental. And all I've said is I don't have enough proof to believe in any religion, but they jump on me. So I just find it funny that a lot of these religious people are very judgmental. But I'll get into a few more of these fan questions because I know we're time sensitive.
I'm good. I know you got to get to the gym.
Hurricane Maverick wants to know, what do you think of all the nonsense going on in wrestling today? I know you don't really watch it that closely.
We talked a little bit about that, Hurricane, and I don't watch it closely, but I I just long for a time where to go back. Like Hannibal said, his favorite wrestling era was the 80s and the 90s. And I long for all entertainment, not just sports entertainment, not just wrestling. I long for it to go back to a more kayfabe time where things were more sacred and more mysterious, because I'm getting burnt out on wrestlers' personal opinions on religion and politics. And like, I don't care. I don't care about our politicians' stuff. I care about the viewpoints that align with mine and my family and my friends, how it's going to affect my business, and like what they're doing in their off time for me. I don't care. So I don't want to hear a bunch of wrestlers' opinions on things that I don't really, I would just rather look at them and look up to them as entertainers, performers, and athletes. That's me. So that's, when you say, you know, funny business going on in wrestling, that's what I think of. Like, I want to hear about some psychology on Twitter. I don't want to hear a bunch of people crying about this, that, or the next thing. It's just getting to be like walking vaginas for a lot of the guys to me, and it's a turnoff.
I know one thing you kind of had a similar opinion of me on was this whole Twitch issue. I mean, right now these wrestlers work once a week. They all make in the hundreds of thousands to millions, and they sign their own contracts. So they're supposed to have their lawyers review the contracts before they sign them. So if WWE does make choices or changes on the Twitch policy, that would have been in the contracts to begin with, right?
I mean, this is this whole generation that we're in right now. I'm not that old. So you know what? Like when we signed something, or when you shook a hand back in the day, that was your word. You lived on your honor. And now it's like, if the freaking wind changes, you're going to change your opinion. You're going to change your viewpoint. You're going to change your word or your agreement, or I don't feel like it today. You know, back in the day, there were no cell phones, and there was no social media. You made an agreement with somebody at school or in the neighborhood that you were going to meet them. They were either going to come over to your house, or they were going to call you on a landline, or they were going to meet you at the park, or they were going to see you at the school dance. And you did because you were looking forward to it. You weren't overly stimulated with, I can do this, I can do this, I can swipe here, I can cancel somebody out, right? Like it was different when I was growing up. Like, you were a person of your word, and now people just flip flop on anything. You signed the contract, you know what's in it. You're all about taking the money that comes with it, called being on retainer. Whether you're working or you're not, you're getting paid. And there's a privilege that comes with that. And you know damn well what it is. So when things change, because there's a thing called, you know, structure and sponsors, and WWE is that's a public traded company. My dad used to always say, nothing in life is for free. And they know doggone well, I know when I'm getting into a contract, you know, the contract that we've been kind of teasing, Hannibal, you can bet that not only did we go over it with a fine-tooth comb, but we looked at the clauses that it would just be a pain in the ass to negotiate it. Just go with it. You know, I've done TV a million times. I know what's going on. These men, these women, they know the drill. It's just like they want to just forget, like, you want everything and your cake and eat it too. Like, then don't sign the contract. Then don't have the massive amount of promotion that comes with being on that TV, that station, that promotion, that network, that everything you're walking in now on a new contract, into not just some new contract, you're walking into years and years of blood, sweat, and tears. No different than what you said, Hannibal, about, you know, now these people are getting signed right out of the blah, 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 where you had to go pay some dues, the school of old hard knocks, and go out there and like grow the support base and make it work. And then you were going to get signed the old way. And now it's this new way. And it's just, there's something really off about it, because there's no wax on, wax off. There's no paint the fence. There is no foundation with how people are getting signed now. You just go to a training school for a little while. You don't fall on your face. You don't have people boo you. You don't have shit go wrong. You don't have your car break down on the way to an indie show. Fill in the blank. All of that stuff is good for you. It's called creating grit. And that is what's wrong with not only wrestling, sports, entertainment, the music business. That's just what's wrong with pussies that are out there today. No grit has been generated. No failures. You grow from failures. So when you're being coddled like these helicopter parents are doing to their kids, these millennials and Gen Z and all of these kids, like I'm not a parent because I probably would do the same thing, but like I wasn't. Nobody was over me. I made my own mistakes. I made some big ones, and it built me and helped mold me into the person that I am today, which I believe is a little bit more well-rounded than some of the people that I see that came and look you in the eye and have a conversation. So that's my take on that. I go off on that stuff.
And there is people going hungry every day, and there's many, many people that have lost their jobs in this lockdown time that I really have more sympathy for than the WWE wrestlers. But last question here for today. There's more, but we'll have you back another time. Patrick J wants to know, how do you feel about bands playing at events and having crowds? Do fans deserve to be locked down, or are we adults to make our own choice and attend shows? This goes for either wrestling or music.
That's a great question, and I'll just do a shoot on that. I'm done. This is just, I mean, were we asking this last year with the cold or the flu, or do you think it's right to cancel an entire event because somebody that's coming might be on crutches and we don't want them to fall or somebody to trip them? It's just, I got it for a little while, and I was very heavy on the mask and very heavy on masking up and being social distancing. And now it's just sort of it's become, to me, in my personal opinion, a very political thing. And there are obvious agendas here when the rest of the world is functioning just fine. Other continents, other countries, and we're just if you're sick or you're at risk, then you should be doing everything that you need to, whether it's social distancing, a proper healthy diet, going to physical therapy, going to the gym, not overindulging in chemicals and substances that will hurt you. It's like nobody talks about all of this stuff, but don't go to a concert. It has just killed so many businesses and so many promotions. And more people, I think, have died from suicide or abuse or through this whole pandemic than anything. Like, if you have your opinion, see it however you see it. But again, if I'm at risk with anything, I'm not going to go do things. And there's plenty of people that are not at risk. And my opinion has changed. Before it was, let's isolate. And now I'm like, what is this? So I'm done. I'm tapping out, bro.
Be happy you're not here where we're still on full lockdown. They've closed the gyms.
What? I didn't know that.
They had them open. Now they closed them back up 2 weeks ago. So
you're
it's
killing
0
everything.
degrees outside. They'd rather have us work out in the cold. There's a better chance of catching a cold or tripping on a pothole. But yeah,
I don't live my life in fear, Hannibal, and I get it. I've been very vocal to my father about, being precautious. My dad's, 78 years old, and he's just fine. And are you going to live your life just in complete fear? Well, that's not even living. That's not a life. And, honestly, the best thing from the pandemic was we had a little time to reinvent, to rebrand, to take that class or study or read or spend time with family. I've met some really interesting people.
Or watch a lot of porn.
Yeah. What's wrong with you, man? You just like to dish it out, but one question from me on my show and you're just like, oh no, I'm not going to say anything. Might be awkward. I'd rather you be mad at me than the other people, bro. So sad. So sad. I'm so disappointed in you. I've lost complete train of thought on this question. So congratulations.
Well, we'll let you do your plugs to remind people where they can follow you and where they can watch that interview you did with me.
It's just Goldilocks Rocks on Instagram or Twitter. There's so many Facebook pages. I mean, if you do Facebook, just look it up. It's not hard to find, but it's Goldy with a Y, GOLDYLOCKS, Rocks, ROCKS on Instagram and Twitter. We have a patreon.com/Goldilocks. Love to have you come over there. We appreciate you. And Mr. Hannibal's interview today is number 88. So that'll be like 3 weeks from now. This week it's number 85, and that's Goldie's Closet on Russo's brand on the Realm Network. You can listen to it any place that you enjoy podcasts for free or subscribe to Russo's brand for $3.95 a month. That's less than the price of a cup of coffee.
And I actually have a Patreon too, by the way. Patreon.com/the Hannibal TV. It's only $1.99 a month, and people can watch my interviews ad-free on there for those that complain about the ads. Could you sing us out with something? Because we know you're a musician. I hate to put you on the spot, but give us a little taste of your voice.
You gotta have somebody's got to really quickly suggest a song, and the first person that suggests a song that I can do something on, I will do it.
Well, I'll suggest Evanescence, something of Evanescence.
Let's find them. Hold on.
Do you know Broken by Amy Lee?
I don't know that one. You know, the only one I know is, let me get the lyrics up. I can't frickin' see. Hold on. Let me make the lyrics really big. And how does this one go? How can you see into my eyes like open doors, leading you down into my core, where I've become so numb without a soul. My spirit's sleeping somewhere cold until you find it there and lead it back home. And then there's some really creepy guy that comes in with some like yucky stuff, but that's a great song. That was one that really spoke to me when Evanescence came out, but I'll have to check out Broken. That's a really cool song too.